Good evening, everybody. If you could just let me know if you can hear and see and everything looks and sounds okay, that would be absolutely fantastic. And then we're going to go through a couple of welcomes like we normally do. And as always, I'm going to say thank you very much, Imran, for joining me on this cold and dreary Wednesday evening. Well, it's cold and dreary where I am anyway. So how are we doing, sir?
I'm doing okay. Sorry, I was thinking then about something else. Then no, I'm doing all right. And yeah, it's not wet. It's pretty cold out there. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It's been an exciting week so far. I lie. It's been quite boring and depressing, but I'm going to pretend it's a good week.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Tees, for letting us know that we are loud and clear and then everything sounds and looks okay. Excuse me for looking away. I'm just trying to make sure I've got all my screens lined up so we can actually talk about the things we need to talk about properly. So, let's have a quick sort of good evening. Thank you very much, first of all, for everybody joining in on this this cold and wet evening in the UK. I don't know where you are in the world, but hopefully it's a little bit warmer, brighter and sunnier than it is here. So, who do we have in this evening? Good to see Mia's in tonight. I think we did remind you last week, I think, that we were live again, so great to see you can actually catch up with us. Okay, George, always good to see you in. Thank you very much for joining us, and I know you were one of the early adopters in this evening. You were in before we even were in, so that's good to see you. Mohammed, we've got Emmanuel, we've got Corey, good to see you in. Tees, Mia, good to see you. David Walls, good to see you as well. Elsie, Informatica PT, good evening to you. Faberon, Stratos, always a pleasure to see you. It's been quite a while, but thank you very much for joining in tonight. I hope you're doing well. We've got Morton, good evening to you. Peter Tack, Michael D. Well, Peter Harrison, good evening to you. Cedric, Sean Duffy, Dave Ryan, Fretbound, hope that's something to do with guitars now, because if that's awesome. Creative Social Media, Radwa, we've got, yeah, we're going to end it there. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, if you are sort of like, you've been looking to see what's going on in the sort of world of WordPress, especially with Elementor, you can't help but notice that recently, well, a couple of days ago, they did their sort of first live stream, which is what they're going to do in 2023, primarily talking about, well, boring the living daylights out of people, I think, at the beginning with things that no one really cared about, just people waiting there to get onto the actual roadmap, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to take a look at what's on the roadmap, our thoughts about it, the demonstration of some of the new features that they kind of brought out with the live stream. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link to it in the description a little later. But, I mean, what were your first thoughts on, was it Monday evening, Tuesday evening, Monday afternoon, something like that? What were your first thoughts, anyway, from the 10-minute late presentation and what they actually covered in that presentation, well, whatever day it was? What were your thoughts on it?
Okay, so if we're just focusing on the actual, are we focusing on the whole presentation or just the bit that was about the roadmap, the bit that most of us were actually tuned in for?
I'll let you decide at this point in time, but give us your thoughts, first of all, on the presentation, then we'll go on to the roadmap.
Okay, I'm going to say that the presentation could have been condensed. However, I think it was nice to get to see people, and you could see that they are excited about what they're working on. However, I would say that if I this is not a criticism, but I would probably say it could have been done as a separate webinar. So maybe they could have said, okay, because it's been advertised as the roadmap, let's get the roadmap done, and then afterwards, if we now want to talk about other stuff, then if people want to stick around and watch that, they can do. So it did feel a bit like we got a lot of extra stuff before, but I'm pretty sure 90% of people on there came to really know about the roadmap. And if you want to stick around for the other stuff, you could do. So that was that. But if we now focus on the actual roadmap, it was good. It was good to get some insight into where they're going. There are gaps. There wasn't enough detail. It was nice that it wasn't just, okay, this is what we're going to do. There was a live hyperlink. So as soon as they told us it, I was like, right, quickly go on, log on, go and look at the page. What have we got here? What was missing for me, and this is me coming from an analytical background, working on projects, working on plans to deliver something, it felt a bit like if I had a sat nav and I say I want to get to this destination, I like to know how long it's going to take or where we are. So it's really good. I'll tell you what, I'm super excited. The grid, the post filter, and I'm sure we'll talk more about the stuff there. This is great. We need it, but when? And that's my only little bit of, I would say, if they had just said to us, like, we want to get it out April, If it slips as time goes on, we understand projects, it happens all the time. But if we've got an idea, because at the moment, I don't know if it's April, September, December, anything like that. For some reason, I was expecting to see more as well. So I will say that as well. It felt like I was expecting to see a load more stuff, because some of the stuff that came up, I was a bit like, I kind of guessed that was going to be on there anyway. As soon as they did the loop grid, Logic said, I bet they do X, Y, Z. And when they did the nested, what was it? The I can't remember what it is now. The nested tabs. I had a feeling we're going to get the carousels and all of that anyway. I was expecting a bit more, but it's a good start. I'm not going to knock it. It's a good start, but we could do with some rough dates. And I'll let you jump in now as well, Paul, in that the only extra thing I would love to have seen is, how about a bit of an upvote button? And the only reason I say that is because when Notes came out, and again, I'm not knocking Elementor for Notes, okay? But when Notes came out, a lot of people did say, why have we got Notes? And we were told it's because it was upvoted. Well, if we've now got 4 things like that are planned, they're not even work in motion yet or anything like that. Maybe if we had an option to kind of go, well, what if more people want the grid before you get the filters? I'd like to think we want to get the filters first, because that is a big game changer, I think, for everything we got. So that, yeah.
No, I agree with you. I think the first thing that, and as Arno said by here, is like, people were just mad that they didn't start with features. Absolutely, because people's time is important. And I think to start off with literally 20 minutes of this is this person and they do this, and this is that person and they do that, most people that were probably on that stream didn't care. They wanted to find out, as Imran's already said, they wanted to find out about the roadmap, what's included in it, excuse me, how it's all going to work, all those kinds of things. So yeah, I can totally resonate with the fact that people were, fine for some people who it might have been 5-6 o'clock in the evening, they finished their work day. But other people, it was in the middle of their workday or sort of towards the end of their workday. For me in the UK and for Imran, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, if we were working for someone else, that would be slap bang as part of our workday. So if we tried to hop on to watch that, it would have been wasting our time. So yeah, I totally understand. And as Imran said, I think it would have been better to have, this is our live stream about our roadmap, which is what this was branded as. It was, this is our roadmap for 2023, not come on in and meet the family. So I think it would have been better to sort of say, right, this is the direction that Elementor as a company want to take moving forward. We want to take you along with us to explain the changes we want to make, the different roles, the people that you may come across as part of the community, and different sort of outlets for information. And a separate one then, which was, this is the roadmap. So start off with, this is the roadmap, this is what we're going to do, this is how it's all going to work. So I think they shot themselves in the foot with a lot of people already by being over 10 minutes late. So it didn't start in a particularly strong fashion. And this kind of seems to be very indicative of Elementor as a company that we see, not saying it's the company behind the scenes, the actual infrastructure or anything, but the company that we see does kind of feel like there's a bit of a disconnect between, or maybe a disregard for how important people's time and money and effort and all those kinds of things actually are. And there's a little bit of, we're 10, 15 minutes late. We're really sorry, we had a few technical issues, we were just trying to wrap up behind the scenes, it was just like, let's just crack on and let's not worry about anybody stood there waiting around for 10 minutes, So it was a little bit frustrated from that point of view. And then to go through 20 minutes of just stuff that probably the majority of people didn't care. So I agree, they should have separated it.
I mean, my suggestion, and I'm pretty sure there will be Elemental people watching, and I'm sure some of them will contact me afterwards as well. But what I want to put forward to them if they are watching is, maybe next time what they do is, you have a page on your elementor.com somewhere, and you could literally have videos on there kind of thing. So if you do want to do intros for people where they want to talk about what they're working on, the videos are there. So if we want to click and watch it for each person, we can. And then you have the video there for the roadmap. And then what you do is you release it, you let everybody know about it, like you release it, say 12 hours before the webinar. So when we get to the webinar is a live Q&A event, not pre-recorded. So, because I was like, before it started, I think there was close to 1,400 people,
were.
even before it officially started. And for me, it was like, if we knew what it was, people would then be coming with questions. And then if we've got the developers or the team behind it who are going to be doing the work, they can maybe respond. And it's okay to say we don't know. You know, if someone might ask a really difficult question, well, what about da-da-da-da-da? It's okay. It's what I do all the time. If I don't want to answer it at the time, I'll get back to you, whatever. But I would say if we approached it like that, I think it would have felt a bit more like, I don't know, a bit more interactive, because I think a lot of us did detect quite after about 10 minutes, is this pre-recorded?
Yeah.
Because we were kind of wondering, how are they swapping everyone out so quick? And again, because we're making time out for this, if it's pre-recorded, don't want to sound rude here, but if I'd known it was pre-recorded, I would have watched it later on. I wouldn't have gone to the live event.
Yeah.
I would have gone and watched it as a YouTube replay 2 hours later, because I have to be honest, it was 4 o'clock. My son's come home from school, and I said to him, right, don't disturb me. I've got a meeting, go and eat and whatever. And he's not on his own. He is with my wife, but I'm sacrificing an hour of my time because I thought it was a live session. So that's all. That's my tiny little bit of advice. If it's not going to be live, kind of make that clear.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, I think when I was just talking now, they need to understand that people's time is valuable. We don't just sort of, a lot of people that are not just sort of taking time out just to sort of put their feet up, have a cup of something and just watch this, have a little nose. They're looking at it because they're kind of gearing their future up for how they're going to either continue working with Elementor or look for alternatives. And you've been in the community long enough, and you're in multiple communities the same as I am. So you know the unrest that's out there and the frustration with historical events and how things are handled and things like that. It doesn't matter what our opinions are, our personal opinions. You've only got to look at the people that are actually out there talking about this openly. And there's a lot of frustrated individuals. And I think things like this just add to the frustration. They don't alleviate the frustration. And I think it's a little bit disappointing from that point of view for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, what was pretty obvious, and I think I tried to do as much as I could, because inside I was feeling a little bit frustrated, but I kept saying, calm down everyone, look, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming, even though I didn't know when it was coming. You could literally sense the tension in the comments leading all the way up into, and I felt like, this is how you ruin an event, right? This is how you ruin it. But if we kind of like, rather than focusing on that too much, I will say that some of the things they did tell us about did get me smiling a little bit, because as soon as we had the loop grid with Elementor and it works for products, I was like, great, this is moving in the right direction. The loop carousel that we got in the version 3.11 beta, again, brilliant. But once we get that post filter and it works with products, all of a sudden 2 or 3 extra plugins or whatever you're adding into your Elementor site, you can now ditch. I mean, it does feel like we would have loved to have had this years ago. Why? It's like it would have been nicer to have it earlier than now, or we're still waiting on it. But it's a step in the right direction. But there is that danger, isn't there, that even though you're going to address these things now, everyone else is moving on. So it does feel a little bit like there is a bit of a catch-up. But that being said, I did not think it was possible that Elementor could do the grid with their current framework. I didn't. So if they can crack that, that would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the actual roadmap itself. Let's take a little look at that. Let's talk about some of the things that you've seen on there, some of the things you might be excited for, some of the things that you're not. But first of all, I think we need to kind of address 2 elephants in the room, and it's a pretty small room, so it's quite squashed in here. The first one is there's no timeline to any of this. So this could be next year, next week, next month, next decade. We have no idea whatsoever. And that already is concerning. And the second thing that I think, and again, we talked about this, and I know the community's talked about this, is there's no upvoting. Now, you may think,
Yeah.
is that voting a good thing or a bad thing? But the reality of it is, if you put up, let's just take, for example, we've got this now. So we've got in progress or whatever. We've got four things
Yeah.
on here. The loop library templates, etc. Which out of those four things do the actual paying customer, because a lot of these are pro features anyway, so only paying customers are going to get them, which are the most important? So if you're going to invest time in those four things because they're in progress anyway, you need to really look at what your audience or your user base needs now, not what you think, well, this is an easy win, so we'll push that one out a bit quicker, and this one's going to take longer. So I think we really need to have an upvote. And there was a comment where I sort of referenced upvoting and the sort of no timeline thing on a Facebook group today. And the overall consensus from this particular individual, and I'm not going to name any names, was that these don't work. You can't put timelines on there, and upvotes are a stupid thing. You shouldn't do it. It doesn't work that way. But my kind of point was, well, you can say that, but it seems to be working pretty bloody well for Bricks Builder.
I think it does, and after because I haven't told anyone this yet, but if you go back to the Elementor one, everything that is in progress, I don't see as a priority. I know some people are going to disagree with me. I don't see any of them as a priority, even Mega Menu. I see everything in the planning as a priority, and I would rather have those four things, because once you've got those, look, I'll be honest here, right? Templates are great. Templates are fantastic, right? But a lot of us don't always use templates. We build from the ground up. We build what we need to do for the client. So the template is a little bit redundant. And that's not a bad thing, by the way, to anyone who uses templates or anyone who builds for Elementor. Okay, I'm not criticizing. But in all honesty, look, I always go on about Mega Menu. I've only used Mega Menu twice in all the websites I've ever built. So I don't even know why I talk about it. But everything in the planning for me is like, I would love to have them in the next 2 months. That's what I really want. All of the other stuff, the templates. In fact, can I just change my answer?
Sure.
If Elementor are going to put time in creating templates, wouldn't it be better that you make the templates after you've got all the other stuff in planning? Because now your templates will have nested carousel, the filter system. You're going to build your template, but you won't have the good stuff. So rather than spend time doing that, because you're going to have to revisit it again, get the good stuff out, and then go and do your templates that now cover off all the bits and pieces. So that's just me putting my 2 pence in a little bit. I would swap those 2 columns completely over.
No, I totally agree with you, because looking at the planning side of things, nested carousel, nested accordion, well, are they not already in alpha for the nested carousel? Wasn't that already released in this 3.11 beta?
No. So we got the nested tabs. We've got the loop carousel.
Loop carousel,
yeah,
sorry.
we've got the loop carousel, but we don't have the nested carousel, the accordion. But for me, it's like, like you could do the Mega Menu, and what will happen is everyone's going to get excited, and then you'll realize actually it's not going to work for most of our clients because they don't want it or we don't need it. But when we've got the power of the Loop Builder grid now working with dynamic fields, it makes total sense to get the Loop Builder filters out, because then that's a game changer for me. That is a big game changer in terms of how many add-ons people use with Elementor. You've done videos, I've done videos. Some people are using JetSmart filter everything, all of this different stuff. All of a sudden, you can do it all within the core product.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like the templates, they'll be much better when they're built with the Loop Builder filters. Because what you're going to do, build a template for a shop, but it won't have a filter in there. Because you haven't got the feature ready. Exactly, yeah. So you're going to build a shop, but then someone still has to go and get a third-party plugin to add in. Well, now all of a sudden the template doesn't look as good as what they thought it was. So I don't know. I just feel like swap it over.
Yeah. The thing is, though, looking at this, right, there's 2 things that spring to mind. First of all, there still isn't anything to do with conditional logic. And people can go on about like, we don't need conditional logic, blah, 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 blah. But the reality is, version 2 point whatever brought with it dynamic content. And dynamic content is something that isn't always included in every single post, whether it's a custom post type or an ordinary WordPress post type, you need to have some simple, logical way of displaying things when they're relevant and not displaying things when they're not there or not relevant. And that is completely missing from this. And the second thing is, I think a reason a lot of these things are in planning and in progress and things like that is because they're still reliant upon the container, which they're not pushing out of beta. You know, they call it stable, but why the hell, if it's stable, why is it in experiment? Why is it still an experiment if it's stable? Surely that's kind of contradict. You wouldn't take a car out if they said, "Oh, this new feature in this Tesla, this auto drive thing, it's amazing. You can use it wherever you want." It's still in beta. It's an experimental thing, but it's perfectly fine. I know it's a bit of a strange analogy, but the reality of it is, people are building businesses on this, and you get people asking all the time, "Should I use the container now? It's in beta," and you've got people saying, "Yes, you can use it. It's in beta." But let's be honest, this is Elementor. They could change how that function works in a what appears to be a simple kind of change, but it could have a massive knock-on effect for everybody that uses the beta version, the experimental version. Like I say, if it's good enough to be used in everyday, then take it out of experimental. It should be a fully released feature. But I think, like I say, you're looking at the container grid, probably going to be reliant upon other aspects of the way that the container is going to be used. The nested carousel and accordion, chances are they're going to be the same as the loop builder. So you have to have that experimental feature enabled to be able to use them.
Exactly.
So there's this just kind of constant knock-on effect, and it feels like there's this little barrier of why we can't progress any further, and that barrier is called the container. And it's like, oh, but the thing is, we can't release that because it needs to use the container. Well, put the bloody all your efforts into getting the container fully featured and working, and put it out there. You can already choose whether you want to convert your legacy designs that are used in columns and intersections and things like that to the new container. And you can technically mix and match. If you're using a legacy design that uses those things and you want to use the container because you want to use the loop, well, currently, if I'm mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be, I don't really use Elementor that much these days, but you can still mix and match as long as you don't convert those legacy layouts or those legacy kind of component pieces. So you can mix and match between the two. So it's like, I don't really see why there's such a problem when you can carry on doing that, but just take it out and then say, right, no longer intersections. And I know you've talked about before, why can't you run the two side by side? And there's possibly reasons why. But stop hiding behind the container. Put the bloody effort into it and release the feature as a full feature, not continue to have tons and tons of experimental things. I mean, the list is getting bloody longer and longer and longer. And it's like, these are key things that you need in a lot of cases. So come on, put some bloody effort into it.
I think I've got a sneaky feeling that we must be getting close to version 4, and if it's not fully out there in version 4, I'll be really surprised. But it's a good thing you mentioned the conditional logic, because actually I asked my my live chat audience, what do we really want to see coming out in the roadmap, and that was mentioned. So I think that was a little bit of a ball drop there, in that because people are how many people are using third-party add-ons just for a form for conditional logic, and some of them are paying for this feature, and if they could just build it in, again, keep it all within the core product. I mean, I saw Robert's comment over there, and also image by Steve that's kind of related, where they were saying that, there's a bit of a concern that if they release stuff, it will break plugins, and I don't want to upset plugins. But if I'm going to be really brutally honest, really brutally honest, they shouldn't care about how it affects third-party plugins, because I'll be really honest here, I don't think third-party plugins care what other third-party plugins do. Do you really think happy add-ons care about exclusive add-ons? There's always overlap, and I really think that we need to stop going, oh, well, I don't want to upset someone, because if you keep worrying about someone else, it stops you evolving and succeeding, because look, you can't wait for the world, you have to become or create the world. So I just feel like get it out there. All of the third-party plugin companies have had more than enough notice now about the containers, and Absolutely. If they're not, and if they haven't evolved, fine. Because in a way, though, you see, like we said, with the loop builder, once you do the post filter, once you have CSS grid, once you add in a lot of things, even conditional logic if we ever get it, or calculated logic, when you do all of that, would you still need to go and use a third-party plugin? And I'm not knocking them, but I don't use third-party plugins. I really don't. Because I'm a bit like, wow, really fancy feature, but did I really, really, really need it? Did the client really need it? And often they don't really need it, which is why so many people are resorting back to Gutenberg or Quickly and stuff. And I know they have some fancy things as well, but it's like slim, lean and mean websites. What is the focus of the website? So, look, I have nothing against third-party plugins, but if you're really worried about Elementor causing you issues, then you need to go away and look at your dev and get your own roadmap as well. Sort your own roadmap out as well.
I think that this is something we talked about several times in different live streams, that Elementor has become so big, not because I think specifically or because of Elementor itself, but because it's got such a massive third-party ecosystem that props up the glaring holes that are in the builder itself. And the problem with that, as you've already just highlighted, is that they can't be as agile as something like Bricks, as something like GreenShift, as Gutenberg sort of tools, for example, because they're so heavily reliant upon that, they can't pee them off. Because if they pee them off, then you get peed off customers, you get peed off developers, and then suddenly you get even more frustration in that sort of ecosystem that then can kind of tear you down, as it were. And this is the frustrating part, because the people that are actually paying the price for this are the people that are actually technically paying the price for it, if you know what I mean. They're actually people that pay for Elementor because they want this tool that allows them to do a lot of things. You and I are both very, very much the same here. Yes, we're critical of what happens and how it works and the different things, the shortcomings of it as a company, as a product and so on. But on the flip side of it, we're also very complimentary when they do things right. We also, we've built a lot of our audiences based upon creating content about Elementor. I mean, there's still a lot of mileage in it. And if you want to create dynamic websites, more complex and comprehensive ones, that third-party ecosystem still is one of the best things that you have around it. But they need to kind of start addressing the less edge cases and address the more core things. Like we said, like conditional logic, like fully featured dynamic controls. There's so many things in there. Like, for example, like repeater regions and so on. These are an integral part to creating more intermediate to advanced dynamic websites. Well, if you want to be this kind of the ultimate kind of web design tool for WordPress, and you want to have people that are creating these dynamic based websites, you've given them half a tool set, but then you've hampered them and made them go to use third party tools. And then you kind of go, well, we can't update things because the third party tools might not work. And then you're going to be annoyed with us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the chicken and the egg. It's like at some point that cycle has to be broken and someone has to make a step forward and say, this is how long you get for these core features. If you don't update by then, when you update, you have the update thing inside the WordPress dashboard. These are the plugins you installed. These have not been tested with it. If you update, your site can break. The choice then is totally up to you. And give a second level warning. You get this yellow warning saying like this hasn't been tested and this hasn't been tested, which ironically a lot of the times when you update the pro version of Elementor, it says it hasn't been tested with the free version of Elementor, which is slightly ironic. But you do kind of think, well, have a second level warning that just says, a little pop says, are you sure these plugins are not currently supported with this version of Elementor? And then, like I say, if you do click that OK button, well, Elementor can turn and go, well, sorry, you've had 2 warnings and you still carried on. The problem isn't with our side of things. We told you there's incompatibilities or potential incompatibilities with these tools, but you carried on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I completely agree with you. And I feel like there does need to be a bit of an education piece about that, because 9 times out of 10, when people are complaining about something's broke or like that, it's usually down to the plugin, and it's not always Elementor. And it's even like with page speed, because I do videos about that. people come to me and they go, we've followed your video, but my score's not high. And then I probe them and they're using Jupiter X theme and like loads of add-ons. And I go, well, my video does not cover every add-on under the sun because I'm only going with what you need to do. I mean, one thing I will say though is, behind the scenes, the team, they have at Elementor, Ziv, Verdi, loads of people there, Hadass as well, Itamar. They do work hard, and I do feel like, they do want to deliver the most and they want to build up customer relationships. And I get all that. And I'm really happy, with how they come across. And they are, they can be lovely people to talk to as well. But what I would like to see is that what the audience need, what we're asking for sometimes, just saying, hey, and hi, we're all, a lot of people don't want that. What people want are results. They want to see like Elementor become a more rounded solution. Now, I'm quite happy building stuff on it without using third parties, but too many people still use third parties, and until you get loads of these other extra features up and running, you're always going to run into this problem. And like I said, I don't want to see any third-party businesses go out of business. But look, if Elemental start to do stuff a bit better, you need to change your game. And it's because it's a bit like, I'm pretty sure I said this on my live chat, and I could be talking absolute rubbish here, because we did our one of our first live chats about, I don't know, 6-7 months ago. And we had quite a lot to say about Elementor, where we were talking about one of their, how a lot of us were not happy about the update. And I know it caused a lot of noise and fallout and stuff like that. That was not our intention, but we were voicing our strong opinion. And a lot of people did agree with us. I'm not saying it's because of what we did, but in the last 6 months, there has been a ramp up. And I think some of that is down to maybe what we said, but also I think is, if you look at Breakdance, Bricks, all these other solutions out there that are doing a lot of this stuff, I think it's made them realise that we can't keep relying on third-party add-ons to do those features for us. We have to start bringing it in-house, because that's the only way we're going to stop. The number one issue you see all the time on the forums mainly is people saying, Elementor, my website's broke. And it's usually because they got third-party add-ons. So the more rounded you make it, the lesser the chance of the breakages happening.
I agree. And it's one of those things, it is a difficult one. We don't want to keep on talking like this. We would like to... I think both of us would probably like to come in and go, what they've done is amazing. But I think the reality is they've definitely felt the pressure from those other tools. Like you mentioned, Breakdance, like Bricks. Even people moving over, because like it or not, the tools that surround Gutenberg are getting considerably better. You don't need to rely upon something like a page builder to be able to do a lot of what I would have used a page builder to have done. Like your dynamic listings, your like real estate websites and stuff like that. Yes, you still need to have, let's just use Generate Blocks as an example, because Generate Blocks free has, a dynamic loop already built into it, completely free. And if you want some of the extra features, you go for the pro version. Yeah. But you still need to have some kind of filtering. But then you don't really mind so much, because you get the benefits of the speed aspect and the lot more lightweight, over the extra headroom that you need to have a page builder. I'm not specifically pointing out any one page builder. This isn't aimed at Elementor or any other ones. But there is generally a heavier sort of overhead for having something like a page builder over a well-coded Gutenberg kind of tool set. So I think, there's a lot of reasons why people now are getting fed up. And I think they haven't helped themselves, I don't think, over the last 12, 18 months. And like you said, maybe, the things that we said, which were never meant to upset any particular person or anybody inside the company. Because I know we've had conversations with different people after we did that. And I don't think either of us even thought about that side of things, or was even part of the intention. We just kind of, like you say, you feel that frustration, we have a platform that a lot of people that are in the community do not have. But we also experience some of the frustrations that people in those communities have. So it's inevitable that we are going to talk about them when we have a platform like this. And it's why the live streams are such a good platform for this, because it's not just what I think and what I've experienced and what Imran feels and experienced. You also give us your feedback in the comment section as we're doing this live. And speaking in the comment section, this is a really good segue. 33 thumbs up and we've got 117 people in. Come on, folks, you could do better than that. Hit that thumbs up button. If you want to see Imran running around in his underpants showing... No, I'm not even going to go there. We'll leave Uranus out. Anyway, let's just quickly go back. So, what did Nicholas say?
You said it. I've told my lot I am going to get the word Uranus in every week. It's done for me. It's been done. I don't need to say it now. It's been done.
So, Nicholas, what do we have to say? Just wanted to let you know, just today we started migrating feature requests to discussions on GitHub, which means people will be able to start upvoting feature requests, which is awesome to hear. So thank you very much for doing or letting us know about that, Nicholas. That's good to hear. It would be a good idea, I think, to put something on your roadmap page as well to let people know that they can go there to upvote it. Maybe even where you've got each one of these, let me just put this up on screen a second, where you've got each one of these sort of features that are planning and progress and so on, that there's a link on there that allows you to just go straight to that feature inside GitHub and upvote it if that's the one that you want. Just make people's lives a little bit easier, because I think ultimately it's going to make the developers behind the scenes, their lives a little easier when you kind of look and go, actually, these are the things that people want, so we need to push these to the forefront. And like Imran said earlier on, the planning features are way more interesting for probably the majority of users over things like a new UI editor menu kind of thing, or alternative templates. I mean, yeah, they're nice to have, but they're not particularly important, whereas I think other features probably more so.
Can I just focus on that one? Because I was speaking about this one yesterday, and I'm puzzled by that one. I'm really puzzled by that, because it's almost like I'm so used to the way Elementor is. I'm a bit worried because I feel like... Because we've already seen some changes with the calculated units and stuff like that, which is good. There was the number scrubber, which I'm not overly excited about. Who likes a scrubber? Maybe I don't know, but I'm a little bit like, I don't know. I keep looking at it and going, what exactly does that mean? What exactly are they planning? So many of us, we do kind of like, because it's really simple, right? And I know bricks do stuff a little bit different, and breakdance have theirs, and everyone has theirs. But the Elementor one it's pretty simple in understanding, and there's not too much thinking is required. I mean, that being said, though, there are some things which you go, does it need to be in the advanced tab, or should it be in the style tab? Like the custom width and all of that. So I get that, but I would love to know more about, because obviously it's in the in progress column, isn't it? So what exactly are we talking about here? So rather than just saying we're working on it, it might be that we get no say in it. But what I would really love to see is, this is what you get now. This is what we're thinking of, like a concept. Because what I don't want is we get something completely new and you sort of go, it's ruined it, or... But that one, I am... it's a bit like, because there is no see more button there either for it.
No.
And I was a bit like, what? So what is that? What is that? I don't know. If anyone knows, tell us, please. Concept, just something. Give me an idea. It's keeping me up at night.
Are you sure?
Yes, no, I don't care. No, but I did. That did. Of all the items, that's the one that bothered me. But I will also just say that it did come as a bit of a surprise, really. Version 3.11, which practically gave us nearly everything we got in the beta version, didn't it?
It did.
I mean, I know it said beta, but I wasn't expecting it that quick within 24 hours of this coming out. So I know, you did your videos on it as well. So it was nice to have some of these extra little features. But again... And I know I feel like a broken record here. Of all everything in that beta version, if I'm really honest, it was only the loop carousel which I felt was important. If I'm really, really honest, a responsive background image you could do anyway. You know, you
Yeah,
could
that's
still
my
select a
cock-up, I
desktop.
think.
Yeah, no, but it was a bit like you could still do that, but it was a bit like because I saw your video and I read it and I sat there staring at what they said and I kept thinking, but you can do that anyway. So it was a bit like, was it any different to what we had? But again, I feel like what they've done is good, but now we've got the upvote function. It's now over to you, all of you that are watching, right? Start upvoting what you want. And if you want to see the post filter, hint, hint, come out sooner than later, upvote it, okay?
To be honest, I think that would probably be one of the best things to kind of come out. To kind of go back to one of my thoughts is the thing that I kind of felt a little disappointed with maybe you're sort of spoilt by things like when you see an Apple presentation and things like that. You kind of get, okay, so these are all the things that are in planning. These are all the new widgets and things like that. And then towards the end, they go, and these will be available in 7 days' time, or from Monday, the sort of so-and-so. And I was I was hoping that they would come out with, this is the roadmap, etc., etc., etc. But all the things you can see there, they're going to be released in the next version, which is coming out 7 days, 14 days, whatever kind of timeline, do you know what I mean? And then you would have gone, oh, fair play, well done. But you just kind of felt like, and maybe this is the cynic in me, because we are UK people, so we are generally cynical, is it's a list of things. It could be a wish list that one of us has written. It's like, come on, let's actually get some of these out into the wild and prove the commitment you have to pushing these out sooner rather than later. And I think that's what we want to see. We want to see the change from the promises to the delivery, and actually delivering on time and on budget. But you know what I mean?
I think I'll put my name down on it. I've got a feeling we're going to get all of those items by June. There's been this ramp up of like updates and things like where we're now getting better updates, not just like, this little thing fixed or number scrubber and stuff like that. We're now getting richer things, and I'm going to put my name down and think I think we're going to get it all by June. I think they're going to surprise us. And I agree with you, actually. I was hoping that we were going to get like an announcement, or something that said like version 4 is coming in March. And it will have the final version of the Flexbox container. And just to let you know, for anyone that's worried, you can still have section columns if you want or whatever. Just make it clear, clarify things a little bit. Because, So, look, it was all really good, okay? And it was about time, because it's one of the things we were very vocal about 6 months ago, that when we kicked off with our what wasn't right, where's the roadmap? And we spoke to people from Elementor about it. So it was wonderful to see it. But, don't keep us guessing. Just don't keep us guessing. Because I tell you what, if in 3 or 4 months' time, come April, right, we still don't have some of those things that we've spoken out now, like the post filter, and we don't have any dates, you're going to feel like you've come full circle again. You're going to start, where is it? What's going on? What's the update? Kind of thing. Because Bricks is out there. I'm flexing between Bricks and, Elementor at the moment. And there's stuff I can do. I know that Elementor people aren't going to like this, but if I'm building a WooCommerce shop, I will be building it in Bricks, because I get the filter system in there and I don't have to go in elsewhere, and it works and does the job. But if I know you can get it in Elementor in a couple of months' time, and I know I've got a prospective client, I might just build it in Elementor. You might change my mindset and what I'm thinking of. Because when you start to see some of the stuff they're doing, I'll be honest, half of the stuff I got, I don't even know what the hell that means. But they've got stuff coming out here. So there is a bit of a catch-up going on in a way. But please don't think that Bricks is perfect, because their mobile menu builder, that's kind of... I thought that would have been out by now, and it's not out yet. And, and they really, really do need to get that out as soon as possible. But Elementor are moving in the right direction, so I feel like there's momentum building, but don't keep us waiting too long, everyone. Okay.
I think there definitely seems to be a shift in the direction that the way that the company is kind of coming across, and as long as this kind of goes somewhere, because there was, if you think you go back probably 2 years ago, all the momentum was we want to create an education platform and a forum so people can ask questions. We want all these education classes and things like that. So we're putting tons of money and time and effort into that. And let's be honest, that was a complete waste of time. They folded that relatively quickly.
It did, yeah.
Yeah. And then there was this massive push into online marketing and promotion, on the adverts everywhere, which is probably why we've seen such a hit in YouTube income, is because they stopped doing the adverts. Anyway, but you kind of think there was all that push and momentum in there, and that kind of died off. And, they laid off pretty much the entire marketing department kind of thing, which is a horrible thing to kind of hear, anybody losing their jobs. But
it wasn't good.
But do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you kind of feel like they know what they're trying to do, and other times you feel like they're literally just, as they say, throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so far, quite a few big things that I can imagine probably had huge cost and time investments into were a waste of time. Do you know, I think creating an education kind of thing then, for example, when you've got so many online creators that are literally doing that for free for you, I don't see why you'd think, let's go and chuck, let's just say $100,000 into creating that and paying some creators to create some content for us on this kind of thing and all that kind of stuff. They're doing your job and they're basically selling your product for you. So to me, it would have been much better for them to have embraced that community and said, look, we want you guys and girls to create the best training. So anything that we can do, let's have a kind of like a centralized hub where we can have regular catch-up meetings and we can discuss the things that are coming out, what we're working on. We can get your feedback as your kind of front line, and then have you kind of feel like you were embraced as part of what Elementor were trying to do. And I think they really missed a trick by just basically letting people like you and me, I know there was a little bit of interactions you've had with different people inside the company, but the reality is you're pretty much just left to your own devices to get on with it, and you don't really get any sort of like, you pay for Elementor, I pay for Elementor, we get the same kind of support. Do you know what I mean? We're not getting anything special, anything extra. Not that I'm asking for that in the slightest, but I do think that they missed a massive trick by shedding so much money into that when they really could have just embraced the community that was already doing an amazing job of creating content out there for problems, for design ideas, for expanding what could be done, and showing what can be done by embracing tools like Elementor with some third-party things. I mean, for example, like the front-end dashboards, the videos that I did, I mean, they got massive kind of feedback. I had people from inside Elementor asking me, can they have the code to see how I put it all together? Could they have a copy of the website and test it all out and see what was being done with it? So, you're kind of thinking, well, if you saw that, why didn't you sort of embrace that community and make that something more? I'm going to speak for myself. I don't know what kind of interactions you've had or anybody else, but I'm just kind of thinking, chucking ideas out.
Yeah, what I feel, and I have a very sneaky feeling that some Elemental people are going to contact me for a private one-to-one meeting when I say this, but I do feel a little bit like I am often told about some stuff, and you will hear about some stuff as well, after a decision is made. And when I worked in the NHS, I was very well known for stopping anything I felt was not worth pursuing. So whenever I knew there were new ideas or things going on, I was always the one who came running in and I was risk managing, and I was going, that ain't going to work. That won't catch fire. That's not going to catch on. It's not going to have the momentum. It sounds like a really good idea, but you really thought about it. And I do still feel a bit like some ideas, and this isn't just with Elementor, this is with lots of different organizations in the WordPress world. You hear about it after a decision is made. They've already invested money. It's coming out next week, whether you like it or not. This is what they're going to do. And I do still feel a bit like surely they could sound off some of their ideas, because they talk to you, they talk to me, they talk to Reno, they talk to lots of people. There's loads of us out there where they know they can call upon us whenever they need, like, not promoting Elementor, but they want us to, they want to, talk about something like that, or they might ask us to help them out with an event. By the way, just to let you know, when I help them out with the December event, we don't get paid for it. Please don't think I get paid or a present. Nothing is sent over to me whatsoever. It eats into my time. But they could easily sound off, and we are not the decision makers, but we are much more in tune, I think, right, with some community people. With, like, you've got your community, I've got my web squadron, and we have live chats. We are known. They could have said to us, "Hey, do you want a sneak peek of the roadmap?" And we would have been sworn to secrecy. They can trust us. We would not have gone out and gone, "Hey, guess what we've got here?" Taking a photo of the screen. No, we could have been like, we could have given them an honest opinion and said from the get-go, you might want to think about upvoting. You might want to think about the dates. And if they had done that, everything you and me are talking about right now could have been done. So it's like, I'm not saying the decision making is bad, but I just feel like we're real people. We are real people. We are vocal. We talk. And, we're probably more in tune. Again, this sounds really bad, but I think we're more in tune with what the community think as well. Because, like, when you look at some of the comments, I know not everyone agrees with everything that you and me say, but a lot of them aren't that far off with, like, saying, yeah, so that's what I would like to see. Look, we are here. Optimus Prime said it, okay? We are here. We are waiting. All right? So come and use us.
I'm not waiting. My life's too short to wait. Sorry,
I don't mind. Come and get me. Come and get me. Come on,
He's near Uranus if you're looking for him. He's floating around Uranus.
Yeah. Yeah, far away and very far away.
Right, before we wrap up, we've got a couple of minutes left. I want to sort of go on to one of the other things that they kind of came to as part of this sort of live thing, which is the expansion of the cloud platform. Now, I've tested the cloud platform out a couple of times, and my experience, you can look at my video where I released on this when I first tested it out. It was like, it was all right. it was average at best. And I think, Imran, you did some testing on it, and you were very similar in your sort of like, nah, it's all right.
It was okay. It had potential. I now see they're going to bring out the staging site, but I still feel like some of the things I mentioned right when it first came out, that you don't get an email provision, you can't access the back-end file manager. I get why not, but if I want to go in and remove stuff that's in my file manager, I can't do that. And I get contacted nearly every day from someone or the other who has a problem with XYZ. And anyone who's got Elementor Cloud, the number one issue is the speed of the website is like this. It is proper up and down. Constantly, it always crops up. And I can run a page speed test on their website, and the score is up and down all over the place. And saying you're going to have a staging site is good, but you could use WP Staging, you could use WP Vivid, there's already stuff out there for free that you could use and get rid of once you've used it.
Yeah.
For me, again, and this comes back to sound off where you're going. Because if they had sounded off with me, I would have said, you've got to sort out your speed. Because I can't keep helping people out or telling them I can't do anything. It's the cloud. It's Google Cloud. Don't assume that just because you're on a cloud, you will get top speed. Even with CDN, everyone thinks, oh, I'm on CDN, I'll get top speed. Things do go up and down. There's always fluctuation. It happens. Even with Bunny CDN, sometimes there's a split-second delay with video. It happens. It's life. Get on with it. There's
too many variables when it comes to things like that. But I mean,
yeah,
I can't find the pricing at the moment, which is kind of a little bit annoying because they're still only showing the $99. But it goes up, if I'm mistaken, up to $499 per month, wasn't it?
Yeah,
for the business?
It scales up. It scales up, and I'm not going to say anything about that.
I think for me personally, if I was going to spend that kind of money, I would not be using a company that is a software company that develops a page builder for WordPress to manage my hosting. I would be looking at a company that's dedicated, that I can deal with directly with them, and that's the kind of job. I mean, they are one thing, they do one thing, and they're scalable cloud hosting. Simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know you can argue that, you know, with the scaled up model, you get the Elementor Pro licenses as well. But when you work it out, it's probably going to be, you know, it's going to be give or take here and there a little bit more, whatever. If you were like in the UK, you could use 20i, for instance. Their pricing isn't that far off. Then you go and get your Elementor Pro licenses or whatever, and the pricings aren't going to be that off. But you know that you've now got a company that is dedicated to that, you know, online solution. And if you have a problem and they need to access the file manager, you can. Because I keep saying this, I don't always go into file manager unless I really, really have to. But at least I know I can. You can't do that with the cloud.
No.
And I just feel like when you're working with clients, they are trusting you, and you as an expert, and you are advising them. And I've got to be careful what I say. Enough said.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap things up here now, because this is kind of just coming up to the 9 o'clock mark. And like I say, I'm conscious of the fact that I want to try to keep these live streams to an hour long, because I know that we will just talk and talk and talk and talk.
Well,
I know what we're like. So let me just say, first of all, if you want to find out more about Imran, what he does, what he offers, how can they find out a bit more about you? For the 3 people that are in the audience tonight that don't know who you are, do you want to tell them a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. If you go to FBI.com and do a search for Top 10 Most Wanted, you will not find me there. Where you need to go is to YouTube, do a search for Web Squadron. You'll find our YouTube channel. We tend to cater mainly for Elementor, Bricks, and WordPress generally in terms of video tutorials. We do run a web design agency, so if you want to seek out our services or consultations, do get in touch. Or if you just want to throw money at us, that's totally okay as well. But yeah, just jump onto YouTube, search for Web Squadron, you'll find us. We do quite a lot of daily live chats and stuff like that as well. We're always churning out videos. My aim is to get, like, if I know Paul's doing a video, I try and get about 4 out around about the time he does. Which isn't true, actually, by the way. No, but yeah. But generally, you know, we're here to basically help you, you know, and I'm not just talking about me now, you know, I'm talking about all the other people out there, all the other, you know, I don't like to call ourselves WordPress influencers, because we're not trying to influence you, but we are literally here because we genuinely care. You got to believe it, everyone, okay? We're not here just to be celebrities or anything like that. We really do care about helping you, your businesses and your clients get the best out of life. I'm lying. Enough said.
Don't believe a word of that. You don't know how much he charges me just to get him on these bloody live streams.
Yeah. Oh God, I wish.
Such a diva, I tell you.
Sponsored by Uranus.
Not by mine. Anyway. No. Thank you everybody for joining in this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure before you do disappear tonight to hit that thumbs up button if you've enjoyed it and found value in what we've talked about. As always, we'd love to see you in both of our communities. You can find us either on YouTube or you can find us on Facebook. Just do a search for Web Squadron or do a search for WPTuts and you're going to find ours on there. So please do get involved with us because we love to have conversations, love to find out a bit more about you and love to get you part of our communities. We will be back live again next week, providing Imran will sort of accept my check payment as opposed to, bag transfer. But we'll be back next week talking about, well, what the hell, we don't know. Tell us what you'd like to hear about in one of our groups or comment down below on the bottom of this video. But thank you very much again for joining us. Take care, look after yourself, and I'm sure we'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.
Take care, bye.